And we welcome you to the November edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined by our Athletic Director, Jeff Lanham, and wrapping up the fall sports here for the 2017-18 season. We're dead into the winter sports now, and as we head into the holidays, we're not slowing down.
Randy, we say this every month. We talk about this, but it is true. It's beautiful day here. This whole week's been beautiful here on Rio's campus, and kind of moving into those winter sports, it doesn't feel like winter outside. So it'll be exciting and looking forward to it. And we're going to recap some things here a little bit later about the fall.
We're going to start out though with men's basketball, and we're joined today by men's basketball head coach Ken French. His team into the start of its season and coming off the Division II showcase down in Kingsport, Tennessee over the weekend. And Coach, happy to have you along today, and let's kind of talk about the showcase. 12 men's teams, 8 women's teams, a whole bunch of games over 3 days, and we're a little red-eyed, but it's over and done with, and it came off pretty well.
You know, from a team perspective and a coach's perspective, we got a lot of compliments on the event, and it was, it's turned into the premier holiday event in NAIA basketball, and to get 20 teams in one venue, and the way it's grown and gotten better, it just speaks volumes to your help, the coaches that are committed to making it a great event, and the city of Kingsport, Frank Lett and Meadowview Resort there in Kingsport. You couldn't ask for a better venue and a better location, and the event just keeps continuing to get better each and every year.
The teams are really good, and you had both men's and women's ranked teams there all year. This is our third year. This is your third year of doing this, and I think last year you had 5 teams in the national tournament that played in this event a year ago. I would expect that again this year, if not more.
Without question, the quality of competition is unheard of. To get all those teams on a neutral site, we had teams that were ranked as high as number 2 in the country to receiving votes, and the big thing is we had 4 Raiders from across the country at the event as well, which helps all the teams that participate. And that's what the coaches were wanting to get out of this event. They get to put eyes on teams from across the country that normally they wouldn't
get a chance to just maybe by film,
right.
Not live.
Exactly.
Not live.
And it's helped from a ratings perspective as well.
Pretty neat setup that they have down there in it.
You get to play in the ballroom. We've got 2 courts set up with a big wall between them. Men play on one side, women play on the other. You walk out of your hotel room, go through the lobby, go straight into the ballroom, and play your games.
Yeah.
So it's a really unique environment.
Yeah, Kingsport does a really nice job down there.
Unbelievable. They're on board. The last 2 years we've sold out the resort, so they love us.
That's right.
But it's turned into a great event, and hopefully it'll continue. And the biggest thing pulling it off is it seems to be just the support staff, the work that Randy does with broadcasting the games and the statistics, getting those for all the games. That seems to be the next hurdle we've got to overcome and get better help with.
And you talked about it. It's a, people say, why Kingsport? It's kind of a meet in the middle spot, because you're bringing teams from as far south as Florida and from as far north as Michigan.
And it is a central location on the East Coast, so to speak. It's kind of in the middle of the footprint of the NAIA schools from the Midwest, the East and the South. You couldn't ask for a better venue, though, in the location of where we are playing the games. And they're familiar with putting on events like this because they do the Appalachian League Conference Tournament So
they do volleyball as well.
And they do volleyball as well.
Same venue.
It's a great resort. As far as where you're going to stay, when you're traveling with your teams, you may not stay in a better location, all year long than what you do at the resort. And then, you add into it, there's things for the parents to do. There's golf, there's shopping, there's
Smoky Mountains aren't far.
Smoky Mountains, Pigeon Forge not far, Gatlinburg's not far, so it's a great location.
Right.
You can't really make it any bigger than it already is, though, can you?
I don't think we can. I
hope
think
you don't.
We've got a waiting list on the men's side. The women's side, we had 7 D2 teams and 1 NAIA D1 team. So, we're either going to keep the women at 8 and the men at 12, or we'll go men 14 and women 6. But I think the 20-team format is where we want to keep it right now.
All right. The show out of the way, let's talk about your season. We didn't have a chance to get you on last month. You're off to a 2-7 start. That's kind of misleading in the fact that I think 3 of those 7 losses, a point or 2 or a break or 2, either way, you could have ended up as wins. But you guys finished the show with a nice win over Michigan Dearborn on Sunday.
We get a split at the show, which was great. Anytime you play an event like this, most people want, would you love to go 2-0? Absolutely. But if you get a split 1-1, you feel really good about, the strides that you've made. And we've improved every time we've taken the court. The 2-7, we are what we are. We've earned that, in the positive ways and the negative ways that come with that. But, we looked at our schedule and compared to everybody in our league, there might be one other team in our league that has played as difficult a schedule as us, and that's IU East. We've played a very, very difficult schedule. I didn't want, 2-7 is not what I envisioned, but I think what I did envision of this schedule helping us prepare for conference play has come to fruition. We're going to find out, as soon as conference play opens up. But, we earned the 2-7, and it's not what we want, but I think we've gotten better. I think we've developed our young players. Our bench has gotten better, and in doing so, we know a lot more about ourselves right now going into conference play than some of these teams that might have a better record but played weaker competition.
Right, absolutely.
You don't have a lot of veterans on your club either. We've got some photos of some of the guys who are veterans. There's Devin Price in the win over Michigan Dearborn the other day. You've also got Kenny Council there, who has played very well, I think, in the early part of the season. And then the guy that kind of makes you go, and we talked about him before we started the show, in Will Hill, who we want to point out there. He is against Reinhardt, surpassed the 1,000 point mark for his career, and is one of the top free throw shooters in the country right now.
For Will, that's a great career accomplishment, the 1,000 points, and he leads the nation in free throw percentage and free throw attempts. And to be quite honest, he could probably go to the line a few more times. I think he gets fouled more than what he's being whistled for. But, Will's an All-American. He's a first-team All-Conference player last year, just on the cusp of being an honorable mention All-American last year. He's one of the best players in our league right now, and he's playing like it. His shooting percentage is down a little bit. I think early on he put a lot of stress on himself and pressure on himself to play a little bit better than what we were as a team, and he put a lot of weight on his shoulder. I think that's been lifted a little bit as we've gotten better as a team. He's freed himself up a little bit, and he's back to playing. He's back to that form that he was a year ago.
We're not even to December, and now you're getting ready to start the River States Conference season on the road at Point Park.
Nothing like starting off at one of the toughest places to play in the league. But, you look, and in our league, every road game's a tough game. Every road game, even come to Rio, is a tough game. But anywhere you go and play on the road, you're going to be in a tough environment. It's a tough place to play. If you can get a couple of road wins, especially early on in conference play, it's only setting you up for success down the road, because that's the thing. You got to hold serve at home and steal some on the road.
So you have Point Park on Wednesday, then you come back and play at home, your first home conference game on Saturday with Carlo.
With Carlo. And it's changed a little bit. These have been the 2 teams that we open up the season with every year. This will be the last year of that cycle. Next year it'll be a different team. But we always open the season with Point Park and Carlo. Usually it's both on the road on a Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday. So I like this format better. At least you've got one road trip, and you know you've got one home game.
Right.
And so we're at Point Park in the middle of the week, and then we get Carlo at home on Saturday. And hopefully, you know, we always talk about in league play, 1-1 is a good week. 2-0 is a great week. Hopefully this will be a great week for us.
Good. And then you follow that up a week later back at home with the Newt Oliver Classic.
Newt Oliver Classic, we'll have, you know, this year there'll be 6 games, I think it is. We'll have our women play, and then I guess
Wilberforce at noon.
They play Wilberforce at noon. I guess there'll be 5 games. You know, our women play Wilberforce at noon, and then we've got high school games featuring, you know, South Webster and South Point will be the next game on the slate. Then we play a very tough Crossroads opponent in Crossroads in Marion, and then after that we've got Oak Hill. You know, they play Point Pleasant, and then the nightcap will be Meigs and Ironton. So it's a great slate of basketball for us, and it's coming right out of exam week. So both our men and women get to play, and we'll have 3 really good high school teams.
And the good thing about that is that's a community. You know, we try to do this. Originally, when we tried to get this going, we wanted teams to come back that we had coaching that were Rio grads. We do have some Rio grads, and there's Rio connection all through these teams that are involved, and because of that, that was what we were calling with the Newt Oliver Classic, and it's just a special time of the year, and what an opportunity for our locals to come in and see good women's basketball, collegiate basketball, men's collegiate basketball, and some good high school basketball, and some really nice coaches around what they're doing.
There's some great coaches that are in this event. You know, we'll have some of the best, you know, Division III teams, you know, in southeastern Ohio, you know, playing in this event. And you know, you look, I think we've got three of the 6 are Rio Grande alumni.
Right.
So, and then the other 3 have connections to us in some form or fashion, and it's just a great event. It's a great community event.
Sponsoring that game, is that right?
We've got a sponsor. We've got Rocket. They do the signage and
Robbie Pugh.
and it's you know, they're the corporate sponsor for the event this year, and you know, we're going to be able to provide each player that participates in the event with a T-shirt, nice T-shirt with, you know, the Newt Oliver Coaches Classic logo on the front, and you know, the Rocket designs on the back. So it's turned into a really great event, you know, and we've got high school teams that want to participate in this, and we have multiple teams that have been here multiple years because of the experience they have.
I think Oak Hill's been here every year.
Every year.
Coach, we appreciate your time today, and good luck as the season rolls on, and good luck with the Newt next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, that's head coach Ken French, Rio Grande men's basketball head coach. We'll have more of Eye on the Storm when we return in a moment.
You can go if you want to.
And we welcome you back to the November edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, Jeff Lanham back with you. We appreciate men's basketball head coach Ken French for joining us. We turn our thoughts now to women's basketball, and Coach Smalley and his club off to an 8-1 start, despite the fact that they've been hit with the injury bug a little bit. They too open River State's conference play tonight at Point Park, and I think if you were to poll Coach Smalley, to be 8-1 at this point heading into conference play, he'd have to be happy, particularly given the fact that he's had 2 ladies that missed time with injury.
Right, and I think any time, Randy, any coach, you tell them they're going to be 8-1 at the beginning of the season, they're going to be happy. It doesn't, you know, and Coach French referred to their schedule, you know, and Coach Smalley has played a pretty good schedule. On the road, had 2 really nice wins down at Kingsport at the show, and beat Division I Georgetown on Sunday, which was that's always a good win. The old Mid-States, Mid-South opponent that we have. So, and that's good. I think he feels good going into these games. And as Coach said, it's always tough to play up at Point Park. So we'll know a lot about us tonight.
And a young lady who has played very well, and you're seeing a picture of her now, is Sydney Holden. She hit the game-winning shot against Georgetown on Sunday night with 1.8 seconds left in regulation, and yesterday, or a couple of days ago, was named the River State's Conference Player of the Week for her efforts. And she has really picked up her game in light of the injuries to not only Jada Carter but Cameron Conaway.
And you know, even a year ago, I mean, you could tell she's a player without a doubt.
Comes from
local,
pretty good stock, too.
Local, that's right. She's from Wheelersburg. Her brother is the starting wide receiver for the Wheelersburg football, who play in the state championship on Friday night up in Canton. So yes, father played at Marshall. Yep. So she's a basketball player. She does a very good job, and she has stepped up. Yeah, stepped up. She's versatile. You can play her at a lot of different positions, and she's very comfortable with them.
Yeah, she can play underneath the basket and outside, obviously. Got a good shot from the perimeter. And Sydney, again, the River State's Conference Player of the Week. And as we said, Coach Smalley and his crew also in action tonight at Point Park. We move on to men's soccer. And this time last year, you were in Florida with them at the national tournament. But for the first time since the 2008 season, when the new format for the national tournament began, Rio ousted in the first round. There you see a shot of the game against Cardinal Stritch. Stritch won 5-4 in a wild shootout to end Rio's season at 14-2-2. The first time, as we said, Rio beaten in the first round. It stopped a 47-game unbeaten streak at home that dated back to 2013. And one of those situations, we talked about injuries with women's basketball. Coach Morrissey and his club battled them all year long. They played without Eduardo Zarita, the Conference Player of the Year, in that loss to Cardinal Stritch. And just one of those days where, some days it's not meant to be, and that's what it was.
And it's almost, I mean, we've talked about this. They've had injuries from day one, and it's almost like it caught up to them finally. And players were playing out of position and all over the place. And I've said this all year long, that Coach Morrissey did not make it to the final 16 this year. Will not be considered for the National Coach of the Year, but this may be his best coaching job he's had in 29 years because of the hurdles that he's had to go over. And and people have stepped around and played different places and have stepped up their play, and they've done a good job to get to where they're at right now. So.
Don't want to leave the women out either. They came within a game of making the national tournament, reached the River State's Conference Finals, defeated the top seed West Virginia Tech, lost to Asbury to finish 10-9-1. Peyton Davis, you see a picture there from the regular season win over Cincinnati Christian. She was a very big part of this team, and take your hat off to head coach Tony Daniels and his girls and his coaching staff. They've done a great job and just continue to get better.
Well, and you can refer back again to what Coach French talked about. Their record being 2-7 with only 2 wins, but they've played very good competition. And I think Tony started off 0-4 or
1-5 or
1-5, but it was because he played top rated teams, and that prepared him for the end of the year. And he's the one whose team stepped up. They happened to catch an Asbury team who 4 years ago we beat Asbury. Those seniors were freshmen at that time at Asbury to go to the national tournament. First time in the history of women's soccer. So they remembered that, and the idea of where he started and where he's gotten to has just been fantastic. And he's got some talented young ladies sitting out, some from injuries and some from just getting themselves eligible, getting ready to come back next year. And he feels pretty good with who he's got coming back.
Loses only 4 players from last year, from this year's team, so they should be in good shape next year. Volleyball finished its season at 5-29, did not qualify for the conference tournament. Aaliyah Pelfrey, the lone senior who got to play, Kylan Strasbaugh, hurt early in the season. tough year for those ladies, but I know Coach Donaldson's beating the recruiting trail right now, trying to get back at it.
Absolutely. She has talked with her last week, and she's already got 19 commitments for next year, and really feels like, just feels confident that it's going to be a complete change. And her, we talked about this, that she had some troubles early, had some injuries, had some people who backed out very late, so it's not a consistent thing. She's had very a lot of success with wins and losses, and I don't know. She'll be back up contending next year. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah.
Rio's cross-country teams, neither able to win a River States Conference championship, but we did send 5 runners to the national meet out in Fort Vancouver, Washington. There you see the 3 guys that qualified from the left. That's Cam Carpenter, Mo Farah, and River Spicer. 2 ladies advancing as well on the left. That's Lucy Williams, Maggie Dellinger on the right. None of the 5 in contention for a national championship, but they got to go out there. They competed, and that's a feather in the hat to those 5 individuals.
It is, and any time you qualify for the national event, you've got to feel good. And I've said this many times before, that Coach Willie does a wonderful job of preparing those athletes to peak at the right time. And he knew that they were fighting injuries as well, both teams. But he knew that they needed to peak in their conference so that they could make it to the national tournament. And with the idea that they're not going to compete to be an All-American at the national tournament just because of their times and looking at that. But he does a wonderful job of keeping those, keeping them under wraps about what they're doing and just keeping them in, preparing them to peak at the right time.
And as we said, those 5 are to be congratulated for making the national meet on our close.
And that one last thing about it is that, they flew out into Portland, and he got to do some extra running around on the near the Nike training camp, and so it was more than just
got to visit Mount St. Helens.
That's correct. That's right. So it was more than just going out and running that one 30-minute race and coming home. So it was good. It's good for him.
In our closing couple of moments, we want to talk about the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies that took place. The Rio Grande Athletic Hall of Fame, Don Traynor, Sarah Drabinski, Alkia Fountain, and my co-host here, Jeff Lanham, all going into the Hall of Fame. There you see a shot of the pretty nice turnout that they had for the event. That was during the Bevo Francis tournament weekend, and some of Don Traynor's folks there pictured.
His high school coach there to the left.
Is that right?
Yes.
And also, I think we got a shot of David Smalley. That's Sarah Drabinski, one of his former players, who was inducted. And I know, obviously, you being involved in it as well, a special weekend for all involved.
It was, and you saw the crowd. I believe, since I've been involved with the Hall of Fame, it's the largest that we've ever had, and it's definitely an event that I think is going to grow. It's going to get larger and larger, and I think we can only hold 300 in that room, and I hope one day that I hope that's a problem for us one day. And it really was a nice event. It was well attended, and just I made that statement about myself, Randy, and I'm going to say it here, that I told the story about walking on the fence post and seeing a turtle up on top of the fence post. And that turtle didn't get there by itself. Somebody helped. So that's me. And I've got great coaches around me. I've got great support staff around me. And that makes our jobs much easier for that.
Had a great turnout for the entire weekend, too, because the weekend actually began with the Bevo Francis basketball tournament. A lot of the Hall of Famers came back and were introduced at halftime on Saturday. We honored those from the Bevo teams that are no longer with us, including Bevo and Coach Oliver, and just a great weekend all around.
Had homecoming involved with that too. So had a parade going on. There's a lot of things.
That national soccer tournament game.
The national soccer tournament day. It was a busy weekend. Yeah.
Well, very quickly want to run over what's coming up on the December calendar. We mentioned earlier with Coach French the doubleheader with Carlo coming up here on the 2nd of December. We've also got the Newt Oliver Coaches Classic coming up on the 19th. There are home dates with Indiana East on December the 12th. The Champions of Character Classic, rather, on the 19th against Ohio Lancaster. Very quickly, that's a kind of a special date in the show now.
It is, and I'll tell you what, if you want to come in and anybody on campus,
it's
anybody around,
different atmosphere.
We invite the entire elementary school from Rio Grande Elementary, all 6 grades come over, or all 5 grades come over with the teachers, and we have a blast. And when they start coming in the gym, it's a buzz, and it lasts for 2.5 hours. They enjoy, they cheer. It is really a fun time. If anybody wants to come in and just experience that, it's something to see, really is.
Plenty of dates going on at home here in January as well. We invite you to check out RioRedStorm.com to learn that. With that said, no December edition of the show, so we will talk with you again in January with another edition of Eye on the Storm. For Ken French, for Jeff Lanham, the entire crew, Randy Payton saying so long, and we'll talk with you in January for the next edition of Eye on the Storm.